Airlines don't want you to know this, but automated airport systems and stricter gate checks are catching out seniors with wheeled luggage. If your bag is just 1 inch too big, you can be hit with a fee right at the gate. But it's not all bad news. A massive new consumer rule means the airline might owe you real cash if your checked bag is badly delayed. Here are 10 critical new flight rules you won't hear from the check in desk. Number one, the new $45 TSA ID rule. This is the one that could catch a lot of older travelers out because for years, many people got used to showing the same driver's license at airport security without thinking twice. But in 2026, if you arrive at a TSA checkpoint without an acceptable form of ID, there is now a new problem. Starting February 1st, 2026, TSA says travelers who do not have an acceptable ID may have the option to pay $45 to use something called TSA Confirm ID. And that sounds helpful at first until you realize what it actually means. It does not magically guarantee you will get through security. TSA still has to verify who you are. If they cannot confirm your identity, you may still be refused access through the checkpoint. So for seniors, this is not something to leave until the day of the flight. Before you go to the airport, check whether your license is real ID compliant or carry another acceptable form of identification, like a valid passport. Because the worst time to find out your ID is not good enough is when your bags are packed, your family is waiting, and your flight is already boarding. Number two, real ID is now a real airport problem, not just a warning sign. For years, travelers heard warnings about real ID, but many people ignored them because the deadline kept getting pushed back. That changed. TSA says that from May 7th, 2025, a normal state issued license or ID that is not real ID compliant is no longer accepted as valid identification at airport security checkpoints. And this is where seniors can get caught. Some older travelers still have a license that works perfectly fine for driving, banking, appointments, and daily life, so they assume it will also work at the airport. But airport security is different. If your license is not real, ID compliant, TSA may not accept it for a domestic flight unless you have another approved form of ID, like a passport. The simple way to check is to look for the star on your license. Most real ID cards have a star marking near the top, but do not wait until the morning of your flight to check it. Because if you get to the checkpoint with the wrong ID, you may be sent into extra verification. You may have to use the new paid confirm ID process. And if TSA cannot confirm who you are, you may not get through security at all. So before any flight in 2026, check your ID first, not your suitcase, not your boarding pass, your ID. Because a license that lets you drive to the airport may not be enough to get you onto the plane. Yet, number three, the 45-minute check-in cutoff is catching people before they even reach security. This rule sounds small until it happens to you. Some airlines have tightened their check-in cutoffs, and that means arriving at the airport is not enough. Standing in the terminal is not enough. Even being next in line may not be enough. If the airline requires you to be checked in 45 minutes before departure and you miss that cutoff, the system can treat you as too late for the flight. And this is especially risky for seniors because the delay is not always your fault. Maybe the kiosk does not read your passport. Maybe the app will not load. Maybe you need help printing a boarding pass. Maybe the bag drop line is moving slowly, or maybe you arrive thinking, I'm only taking carry on, so I'll be fine. But if the airline has a strict cutoff and you have not completed check in time, the computer may not care that you're standing right there. The safest move is to check in online the day before, even if you still want a paper boarding pass at the airport. That way, if the kiosk line is slow or the app plays up, you are not trying to beat the clock just to prove you're traveling. And for seniors who prefer speaking to a real person, this matters even more because in 2026, the person at the counter may want to help you, but the system may already say it is too late. Number four, Europe's new face scan border system has replaced normal passport stamps. If you are flying to Europe in 2026, this is one of the biggest changes to know before you go. For years, most travelers arrived at passport control, handed over their passport, answered a few questions, got a stamp, and walked through. But Europe's new entry/exit system, known as EES, is changing that. As of April 10th, 2026, the system is fully operational across Schengen countries, and it replaces normal passport stamping with a digital record of when you enter and leave. And that means many non-EU travelers, including visitors from the United States, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, can now be asked for a facial image, fingerprints, and passport details at the border. For seniors, this matters because the first time through may take longer than expected. You may need to use a self-service kiosk. You may need to scan your passport. You may need to place your fingers on a reader. And if you are not comfortable with new airport machines, this is not something you want to discover while a line of tired passengers is waiting behind you. This does not mean you are in trouble. It means Europe is now recording entry and exit digitally instead of relying on old passport stamps. But here's the important part. If you have a tight connection after landing in Europe or you need help using airport technology, allow extra time. Do not book the shortest connection you can find just because the airline says it is technically possible. Because in 2026, getting off the plane is not the same as getting through the border. Number five, ETS is coming later in 2026, and over 70s still have to apply. This is the Europe rule that could confuse a lot of travelers because some people will hear, I'm over 70, so I don't have to pay, and think that means they do not have to do anything. That is not how it works. EDS is Europe's new travel authorization system for visa exempt travelers. It is not a normal visa, but once it starts, many travelers from countries like the United States, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the UK will need to apply online before visiting many European countries. Now, here's the part seniors need to understand. Travelers under 18 and over 70 are expected to be exempt from the fee, but being exempt from the fee does not mean being exempt from the application. So if you are over 70, you may not have to pay the ETS fee, but you may still need the approval before you travel. And this is not something to leave until the night before your flight. Most applications may be processed quickly, but some can take longer if extra checks are needed. And if you turn up at the airport without the right travel authorization once ETS is active, the airline may not be able to let you board. For seniors, the safest move is simple. Before booking a European trip in late 2026 or beyond, check whether ETS has started, check whether your passport country needs it, and apply through the official ETS website only. Because the worst place to find out you needed an online travel authorization is at the airline counter with your suitcase already packed. Number six, wheelchairs and mobility scooters now need more pre flight checking than ever. This one matters because a lot of seniors assume that if their wheelchair or scooter has flown before, it will fly again. But that is not always true. The aircraft matters, the cargo door matters, the battery type matters, the size and weight of the device matter. And if the airline decides your mobility scooter or powered wheelchair cannot be safely loaded onto that particular aircraft, the trip can go wrong before you even leave the gate. This is especially risky on smaller planes, regional flights, or connecting flights where the second aircraft is different from the first. A scooter might fit on the big plane from one city, but not on the smaller aircraft for the next leg of the journey. So before flying in 2026, seniors should not just tell the airline, I have a scooter. They should ask three clear questions. Can this exact mobility device fit on the aircraft I am flying on? What battery information do you need before travel? And do I need to arrive earlier for the device to be checked and loaded safely? Because once you are standing at the airport, it may be too late to fix the problem. The staff may be sympathetic. The airline may want to help. But if the device cannot fit through the cargo door or the battery paperwork is not right, sympathy will not get it onto the plane. So if you travel with a wheelchair or mobility scooter, check it before the day of travel, not just with the travel agent, not just with the booking website, with the airline operating the actual flight. Number seven, airlines now have to be clear when wheelchairs and scooters are loaded, unloaded, delayed, or damaged. This is the other side of the mobility device rule. It is not just about whether your wheelchair or scooter can fit on the aircraft. It is also about what happens after you hand it over. For many seniors, a wheelchair or mobility scooter is not just luggage, it is independence. It is how they get through the airport, reach the hotel, go on the cruise, visit family, and enjoy the trip without relying on someone else every minute of the day. So when a wheelchair is delayed, damaged, or sent to the wrong place, it can ruin far more than just the flight. That is why seniors need to know their rights before they travel. Airlines are under more pressure to handle mobility devices properly, give clear information, and respond when something goes wrong. So if you travel with a wheelchair or scooter, do not just hand it over and hope for the best. Take photos of it before the flight. Take photos of the battery label, the controls, the frame, and any existing scratches or damage. Keep the model name, weight, battery type, and folded dimensions written down somewhere easy to reach. And when you arrive, check the device before leaving the airport. Do not wait until you get to the hotel to notice the joystick is loose, the frame is bent, or the battery compartment has been damaged. Because once you leave the airport, it can become much harder to prove when the damage happened. And here is the part many seniors do not realize. If your mobility device is delayed or damaged, report it immediately at the airport before you leave. Ask for a written report. Ask what replacement help is available. Ask how they will get the device back to you or repair it. Because in 2026, the airline cannot treat a wheelchair or scooter like an ordinary suitcase. For many seniors, that device is the difference between having a holiday and being stuck in a hotel room. Number eight, the new refund rules sound simple, but there is a catch. This is one of the biggest passenger rights changes, but it is also one of the easiest to misunderstand. You may have heard that airlines now have to give automatic cash refunds when flights are canceled or seriously changed. And that sounds fantastic. But here is the part that can catch travelers out. You usually get the refund when the airline cancels or significantly changes your flight, and you do not accept the alternative they offer. That last part matters. If the airline changes your flight, puts you on another one, and you agree to travel on it, then you usually cannot also demand a full refund as if you did not fly. The refund rule is there for passengers who say, no, this new flight does not work for me. For seniors, this is important because a schedule change can be more than just annoying. A 3 hour delay might mean missing a cruise departure. A late night replacement flight might be impossible if you do not drive in the dark. A change connection might give you only 35 minutes to get across a huge airport. And a new route with an extra stop might be too exhausting if you have mobility issues. So if the airline changes your flight, do not panic click the first option in the app. Read it carefully, check the new departure time, arrival time, connection time, airport, seat assignment, and whether it still works for your health, mobility, transport, hotel, or cruise plans. Because once you accept the replacement, your refund rights may change. In 2026, the important question is not just, did the airline change my flight? The real question is, did I accept the new flight or am I choosing a refund? Number 9, a delayed checked bag can now mean real money back. This is the rule from the intro, and it matters because many seniors check bags on purpose. They do not want to lift a heavy suitcase into the overhead bin. They do not want to drag a big roller bag through security. They do not want to fight for space on the plane. So they pay the checked bag fee, hand the suitcase over, and trust the airline to get it there. But under the newer refund rules, if your checked bag is significantly delayed, the airline may have to refund the checked bag fee. That does not mean they refund your whole holiday. And it does not mean you automatically get a pile of cash just because the bag came out a little late at the carousel. The important word is significantly delayed. For domestic flights, that usually means your bag is not delivered within 12 hours after your flight arrives. For international flights, it can be longer, usually between 15 and 30 hours, depending on the length of the flight. But here's the mistake that can cost you. Do not leave the airport without reporting the missing bag. Go straight to the airline's baggage service desk. File the delayed baggage report, get the reference number, take a photo of the paperwork, and keep receipts for any reasonable essentials you have to buy while the bag is missing. For seniors, this can make a real difference. Medication, walking shoes, glasses, chargers, underwear, toiletries, support stockings, or medical supplies should never be casually thrown into a checked bag if you might need them that day. Keep the essentials with you, because if the airline loses track of your suitcase, the refund may help later, but it will not help if your medication is sitting in a bag that never made it onto the plane. So in 2026, checking a bag is not just about paying the fee. It is about knowing what the airline owes you if that paid service fails. Number 10, shoes may stay on at many TSA checkpoints now, but do not assume it will happen every time. This one sounds simple, but it can make a big difference for seniors. For years, one of the most frustrating parts of airport security was taking your shoes off, putting them in a bin, walking through screening, then trying to put them back on while people behind you were rushing. For younger travelers, that might just be annoying. But for seniors, it can be painful, awkward, or even unsafe. If you have balance problems, sore knees, hip issues, back pain, swollen feet, orthotics, or shoes that are difficult to fasten, taking them off at security can be a real problem. The good news is that TSA has moved away from the general shoes off rule at many checkpoints. But here is the catch. That does not mean you can always keep your shoes on no matter what. TSA officers can still ask you to remove them if they need extra screening, if the machine flags something, or if they decide it is necessary. So seniors should not arrive assuming, I definitely won't have to take my shoes off. Wear shoes that are comfortable, easy to manage, and not full of metal details that could slow you down. And if you have medical footwear, braces, or mobility issues, speak up clearly and calmly. You can say, I may need help with my shoes because of a medical or mobility issue. That one sentence can make the process much easier than struggling silently while the line builds up behind you. Because in 2026, the airport may be more modern, but security can still change from one lane, one officer, or one airport to the next. So the safest rule is simple. Hope you can keep your shoes on, but prepare as if you might still be asked to remove them.